Hello everyone, this is NQ Productions here and welcome to another review. Now we all know what shows we watched when we were kids, right? I had my own fair share of shows that I watched when I was really young, which I won't mention in this video. Well, actually that's not true because there is one show that I remember watching as a kid and we're going to talk about it today. And that TV show is the Super Mario World TV series. Unlike my other reviews where I break them down into a series of categories and then determine the final score from there, I'm going to be doing a more history and legacy kind of review. I'll be talking about my opinions on the show as well as the history and legacy it's left behind us. So with that out of the way, let's jump into today's review. The Super Mario World TV series officially premiered in September of 1991 and ended on December of the same year. The show was also tied in with Captain and the Game Master, which means there were only 13 episodes created. This show was in production and released just in time to tie in with the release of the video game with the same name. Because of this, a lot of things that came from the video game were put into the show. But they changed most of the enemies' names. For example, Monty Moles are now called Gophers. Now let's talk about who made this show. The main producers of the show were Deke Entertainment. And they also produced the other two Mario shows, The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3 and the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Also, the voice cast from the Super Mario Bros. 3 show was the exact same. Well, except for John Stalker. John Stalker in this show voices Uktar, who is a show-exclusive character. He voiced Toad in the other two shows, but because Toad was cut out of this show, he had to voice a different character. Outside of John Stalker, the rest of the cast is the same. You got Walker Boone playing as Mario, Tony Rosato as Luigi, Andrew Sabison plays as Yoshi, Tracy Moore as Princess Peach, or Princess Toadstool, whatever you want to call her. And finally, Harvey Atkin plays as King Koopa, or Bowser. One thing that I found interesting is that when looking at the staff of the show, there was no staff that I recognized that was from Nintendo. So this might prove that this show had no help from Nintendo. So because of that, was the show any good? Well, now it's my turn to show you. So now we're getting into the review part. I show you guys my opinions on the Super Mario World TV show. And what do I think about it? Well, you're gonna find out right now. Because I ended off the history section with the voice cast, maybe I'll start with the voice acting. Overall, the voice acting is decent. There's a couple of voices in there that I like, but there's also a couple of voices that I don't like. Let's get those out of the way. Starting off with Walker Boone, who voices Mario. His voice is alright, but he gets annoying over time because of how much Mario says puns in the show. Then there's Tony Rosato, who voices Luigi. His voice is alright, although I don't know if it's the best fit for the character. And then there's Tracy Moore, who voices Peach, and I think her voice is alright. It's a little low for Princess Peach, but it's not terrible. And then there's Harvey Atkin, who voices King Koopa, and I actually like his voice a lot. I think it really suits Bowser pretty well. But then we get to the worst voice of the show.
But I hungry! Bamboo good! Yoshi not know it coming?
For those of you viewers who watch this show, I bet you $10 that you knew that this one was going to be the worst. I don't think it fits Yoshi whatsoever, and the voice gets annoying. I get that in the show he's portrayed like a kid, but it's probably the worst voice that any kid could ever have. But one thing that is better than the voice acting is the life lessons. Because this show was targeted more towards kids than any other audience, most of the episodes have life lessons hidden inside of them. Some of the examples include in the episode Born to Ride, which shows not to join a gang. Another example includes episode 6, King Scoopa Koopa, where the episode tries to teach you not to eat fast food because obviously fast food makes you fat. Another good thing about the show is that it can be quite creative sometimes. For example, in the episode The Wheel Thing, Mario and Luigi try to teach the cavemen about cars. The coolest thing is that they use a whole bunch of crap that they can find anywhere to build the car, which is actually kinda cool. Now let's talk about the story of the show. And I know what you're thinking, isn't there a unique story to each of the episodes? Well no, I'm just talking about the general premise of the show. So just like the game, Mario, Luigi, and Princess Peach go to vacation to Dinosaur Land after they banish King Koopa in the Mushroom Kingdom. However, King Koopa found a way to get into Dinosaur Land and he causes havoc around the land. So it's up to Mario, Luigi, and sometimes Princess Peach and Yoshi to help save the day. It's nice that they kept the story the same way as the original. Since the premise is the exact same as the original video game, it shows how much effort Deke Entertainment put into referencing the video game. But then there's also the cavemen, which aren't part of the story and are mostly just filler. But you know what's another thing that's filler? The songs. For some reason, every single episode of the show has this dumb song like most of the way through the episode, and I don't know why these songs are in here. They serve nothing to the plot. Well, except for one song. It's during the episode Gopher Bash, after Cheatsy, or Larry nowadays, has stolen all the crops from Luigi's garden. He sings about how much of a cheater he is. This is the only song that I can watch and not be annoyed by it. And it's the only song that I remembered too, well, outside of the intro song. Outside of this song though, the rest are just annoying. They have voices just like the Koopalings, even though the Koopalings aren't even in those songs sometimes. And like I said before, the songs have no purpose to be in there. They serve nothing to the main story of the episode. And because this is a cartoon, you've got to ignore some logic for some scenes. I mentioned earlier how Yoshi is portrayed like a kid, which doesn't make any sense because Yoshi is technically older than Mario and Luigi because Yoshi found Mario when he was a baby in the video game, so it doesn't make any sense. But again, it's a cartoon, so I can live with that. And speaking of cartoon, let's talk about the animation. The movement of the characters is like squash and stretch, where it like squashes and stretches from one pose to another, and I like that small touch. But you can tell with this animation that it was cheaply produced. There's lots of moments where the characters are still and do nothing, and it just looks awkward sometimes. And not only that, but there's a few small animation errors. But a lot of them are very small, and you can easily get over them. It's usually character placement issues and color issues, so overall the animation is decent at best. And now we only have one more thing to talk about, the humor of the show. Most of the humor involves dumb jokes and basic cartoon logic. It feels like your average generic cartoon humor. And then Mario has to ruin the humor by saying a pun in literally every single episode. Because of Mario's stupid puns and most of the generic jokes, the humor just ends up being just plain old bad. Although sometimes there are a couple of jokes that make me laugh. But overall, the humor is not so pleasant. Overall, I consider this show to be a mixed bag, where there's some things that I like about it and there's some things that I don't. Most of the humor is pretty bad. Some of the voices can be annoying, most of the songs can be irritating, and there's lots of filler on the show for no particular reason. Also, the animation could have been a lot better, but there's a lot of things that I like about this show too. Some of the animation is decent, there's a lot of references to the video game, some of the voice acting and humor is pretty good, and it can be quite creative from time to time, especially with those modern concepts, and let's not forget the life lessons as well. They're done pretty decently. But overall, I'm gonna give this show a 5 out of 10. It's the kind of show that you just watch for the lols. I know I said that this show was a mixed bag, but honestly, I can also think of it as a guilty pleasure. It's fun to have it in the background just because it's so nostalgic to me, but still, the show is still a mixed bag in my opinion. I know that this show has lots of history, but I have to review it as a TV show, and as a TV show, it's a mixed bag. It has things that I like in it, but there's also things that I don't like in it, and unfortunately, the things that I don't like about the show mostly overlap the things that I like about the show. But I don't think this show is going anywhere anytime soon, because this show has left so much of a cultural impact ever since it ended. The final episode of the series, Mama Luigi, has left so much of an impact on YouTube that it became a freaking meme. I don't know why it became a meme, but it just became a meme, and that's why so many people love it nowadays. Because it's such a meme, it's spread to the YouTube poop genre now. And even though the show ended more than 25 years ago, that doesn't mean that we still can't remember the moments that we had with this show. Both Tony Rossardo and Harvey Atkin unfortunately passed away, and because of this, animator Andrew Dickman made a humongous collab where over 200 animators participated to recreate the episode. I've personally seen the recreation myself, and while I question some scenes, I still think it's pretty good. And that's not the only recreation of this episode. Heck, even I made a recreation of one of the scenes from the episode. And this isn't the only source of media that we got related to Mario. There's a whole bunch of animes, and heck, there's the upcoming Mario movie. And looking at YouTube today, Mama Luigi videos are still coming around to this day, so this proves that people still enjoy this show. This is probably the most infamous video game cartoon ever made. And even though the show isn't very good, at least it's left such a humongous cultural impact. So those are my opinions and the history and legacy of the Super Mario World TV show. So what do you think of my opinions? Let me know in the comments below. I really had fun making this video. I'm sorry it was so long. I didn't try to make it long, but I really enjoyed making this video, looking up the history of this show. If you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more videos from me, then make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss a video. You can also follow me on Twitter and Discord. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
That's Mama Luigi to you, Mario!